covering those shootings, and covering legislation, try to undercut gun control every turn in the road. That's the beauty of working at Breitbart. We're honest about what we're doing. And so every day I wake up, it's an opportunity to kick gun control in the teeth. That's how we look at it. And so I'm happy to be here to speak with you all. Know Mike a while, love Mike, and I know that the San Diego County Gun Owners Group's a great group. Gun Owners Radio is a great deal. And so good to be with you all. They asked me to speak about the importance of regional and state level Pro 2A groups. Before I do that, I know this is the day after Veterans Day. Imagine there's a lot of veterans here. I know I've seen a couple, but I want to say thank you. My dad was a vet, and my uncle. Then I grew up, my uncle used to tell me about when he was under his tank, he was in a destroyer group, and when they wanted to nap, they would crawl into that tank. They had a rotation, of course. If any of you had family members in a destroyer unit, you understand. But he'd get under that tank, and they would tie ropes to their arms, and so if an attack was imminent or they had to roll out, the guys up in the tank would jerk that rope, and it would jerk the hands of the two guys sleeping under the tank. They knew, boy, it's time to get out of here. And they get out, they get in the tank, and they get rolling. And it's just hard to believe the sacrifice that some of you vets paid. It's just amazing. When I was doing my PhD, I have a PhD in military history. When I was doing that, I traveled around in New Mexico and Texas and interviewed I think about 30 POWs. Most of them were from the Pacific Theater, but I interviewed some who were held in Italy, in the European theater, World War II. But I remember this little guy, Scott Downing. Scott was about 5'4", little frame too. And he was, in Pacific, they were flying a B-29, I believe, or maybe the B-17, I got confused, but he had to bail out of his plane over Tokyo or very close to it, and when he jumped, I remember him talking to me about his parachute not opening. And it was so awesome to watch this little guy. I said, "What'd you do, Scott? What'd you do?" And he starts doing like this. And he showed me how he reached back and got that parachute to open up so he didn't hit the ground at full speed. Of course, I think sometimes, I don't know how he felt about it, because when he hit the ground, they were waiting on him. They beat him pretty bad. And then, I believe they held him for 3.5 months. They held him in a horse stable that was 8 by 12, and they had 19 American POWs in that little space. And they had a hole in the floor, of course, for them to pee and do their other business in. And so every night they did a rotation, and someone had to sleep over that toilet bowl every night. Of course, then during the day, they take them out and beat them and do all that fun stuff. But again, what I'm saying is, the sacrifice of veterans is incredible. So, if you're here, you're a vet, thank you. And I hope your Veterans Day was good. Now, if I talk about these groups like they asked me to, I can't stress really I can't overstress, I should say, the value of state level and regional Pro 2A groups, all right? I'm talking again like San Diego County Gun Owners. I'm talking about the Texas Rifle Association, the Illinois Rifle Association. I can just keep naming all these associations and groups around the country, all right? But also in that same breath, I do name like Gun Owners Radio, because I believe a radio show with a podcast getting a lot of stuff done, is what I think. Armed American Radio does that same thing. I know Armed American Radio is on about 230 radio stations, and in just two of those markets alone, I know that their listenership is about 1.1 million. All right? So that's reaching a lot of people. All right? So anyway, I just put all those things together. When we talk about these groups, I include all of those. I also think about national groups, even though I wasn't asked to talk about them, but you can't avoid it. Because a group like the Second Amendment Foundation, I know that Mike and his crew team up with them in lawsuits. you have that happening, all the regionals, they'll team up with a national group in a lawsuit, and we get a lot of things done there. I talked to Alan Gottlieb, who's the executive director of Second M Foundation. I talked to him on my way in today. I said, Alan, how many lawsuits you have right now? He said, just a hair over 40. That means 40, in 40 different parts of the country, his group is teaming up with regional groups to attack gun control. That's awesome stuff. And I don't know if you know, but if you're keeping up, Second M Foundation is knocking them down. They're knocking them freaking down. It's incredible. Now, this isn't possible, though, I would say, without the regional groups. The one you're probably familiar with outside of your state, or at least you've heard of, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, right? They're the ones that sued over New York's proper cause. And on June 23rd, 2022, the Supreme Court struck down proper cause. That's like your all's good cause. I think you know what that is. That you can pass all your background checks, you can be legal as they get, but if you can't prove you got a good reason to have a gun, well, we're sorry, you can't get a concealed carry permit. It's a ridiculous law. It's stupid, and it infringes. And that's what the court found in New York, and they struck theirs down, all right? And so the role that the New York State Pistol Rifle Association, or Rifle and Pistol Association played, there's no way to overestimate the importance of that regional group. No way, all right? And so after that was struck down, I believe within 48 hours, California and New Jersey had said they were going to put the brakes on it, on good cause in California, and they were going to put the brakes on the same requirement in New Jersey. Now, I don't know if they followed through, but what I'm saying is that court ruling immediately began to have effect. Within 5 days, it was New Jersey, California, and Maryland, all right? Now, of course, you probably know this, but the Democrats in New York responded to this lawsuit by passing more gun control, or they responded to their loss. So one gun control was struck down by Supreme Court. The New York lawmakers, who all happen to be Democrat, responded by passing about 15, 16 new gun controls. Just doing this to the people. They're like, okay, we'll get you this way then. You know, you have to give us your passwords to all your social media accounts. We get to read all your social media for the last 3 years. Otherwise, you don't get a concealed carry license. I mean, that's pretty haughty. All right? They did that. They're going to talk to your neighbors. They're going to talk to your online neighbors, people that you direct message and speak with. All of these things they're doing before they can issue you a concealed carry permit. But what happened is, because of what the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association did in winning, everybody starts following up with new lawsuits. And almost every gun control that New York passed after the ruling has already been struck down. Earlier this week, it is something to talk about. Earlier this week, a district judge put a temporary injunction in place to block them from going through your social media accounts and whatever. Just like, you can't do this stuff. Bruin makes that clear. Bruin, again, is that ruling that came down on June 23rd, 2022. But as I talk about all this, New Yorkers are winning just a little for a minute. They're winning just a little. But none of this happens without that regional group, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. Now, the suits that have been filed, the one they won this week, which is awesome, every plaintiff in the suit was a member of Gun Owners of America. That's a good deal. It's another group winning. All right? So these groups can all partner. They all work together. Many of them already do. But you just can't, you can't ignore them, and you got to get behind them. Coming to this deal tonight is great. But I hope each of you will follow up by joining these groups. Picking one close to you that represents your concerns and join them, because they are in the fight, all right? Now, I want to ask you, if there hadn't been a Gun Owners of America, would that suit this week have happened? Would that judgment happen? Probably not. Or if it did, it'd be a little while. And that's what I want you to think about when you think about these groups that are getting it done. Now, I like to think that at Breitbart we get something done. I think I've written about 15,000 articles over the last 12 years. And you try to think, if nothing else, you get critical mass, maybe you're getting something done. But the folks that are putting the boots on the ground are the folks in these groups. And they need your name on their roll. They need politicians to know if we don't listen to this group, there's a whole voting bloc that's going to vote against us right there. That's the kind of thing you need to accomplish, and you can accomplish by joining it, all right? Now, it's not just about filing the lawsuits. I don't know if you were watching when this was scrolling a while ago, but they were talking about social gatherings at gun ranges and different things. This is a completely different and very important role that a group like San Diego County Gun Owners play. They teach these new gun owners how to use a gun. So now you've got a self-defense tool. I know you probably know, but it wasn't a couple 100,000 new gun owners. Just last year alone, what we had between 5.9 million and 7 million new gun owners just last year alone. And someone's got to teach them how to use those self-defense tools. And that's what these regional groups do. And that's what these state-level groups do. And they have these social gatherings at a range. When that single mom gets that gun, but she's still a little scared because for some reason guns are mysterious to her and her family never owned one, but she knows that's the only way she can keep her family safe. Then your gun group steps in and says, we're going to teach you how to use that, man. We're going to teach you how to use it. And when that guy comes through the door and he thinks he's going to do whatever he wants, we're going to teach you that you're going to put 2 right here and 1 right here. And when the cops come, you just be sitting there drinking a glass of tea. We'll tell you what to tell them. And that's it. Then he gets the body bag and she gets to live and be with her kids. That's how it works. But you've got to teach her how to use that firearm. And it doesn't just have to be a woman. I'm not picking on women. If the new firearm owner is a man, someone's got to teach him how to use it. And that's what these groups do. And that's an important service that they offer in addition to all the lawsuits that they are filing to get rid of all this stupid gun control. All right? Now, let me say this. You think about Gun Owners of America, you think about Second Amendment Foundation, you think about San Diego County Gun Owners, you think about Gun Owners Radio, you think about Armed American Radio, you think about the Texas Rifle Association, as I already said, the Illinois Rifle Association, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and on and on. You think about the Firearm Freedom Coalition in Iowa that just got that amendment passed. I don't know if you saw it in Iowa. Iowa's now one of only, I believe, 4 states that basically, this is a paraphrase, but basically by adding this amendment to their constitution, they're just telling the federal government, hey, sorry about your luck. We won't be enforcing any gun control here. You pass all you want. It's not going to work. All right? And so that's happening because of that grassroots group in Iowa. So I can name all these groups. I can keep naming them until you're tired of hearing about them. But the thing is, these groups give you an opportunity to be in the fight. By joining them, it gives you an opportunity to be in the fight and to be defending your ability to defend yourself. I think Mike was talking about that quite well when he was talking about defending ourselves, defending our freedom, defending our liberty. These groups fight to preserve our ability to do that. All right? Now, we're all in it together when you think about it that way. You're in it as much as I am. If you're in one of these groups, I'm in it as much as you are. I'm writing every day, and you and your group are doing the things that I could never do. Our founding fathers gave us 4 words to guide us when we're doing all this. They might be my 4 favorite words. Shall not be infringed. Right? That's what I was basically telling the federal government. I was basically flipping on the bird and just saying, hey, shall I be infringed? Sorry. This is a fundamental right. And you have to know that, and I have to know it. And if you haven't come to understand that fully, you really need to sit and think about that. I would encourage you to read the majority opinion in Chicago v. McDonald, which is a Supreme Court decision in 2010, excuse me. Justice Sam Alito wrote that decision. And in that decision, he said the key component, that's a quote, the key component of the Second Amendment is self-defense. So when you think about the Second Amendment, just think about a door, and the hinge on which that door swings is self-defense. That's the key component. If we don't understand that, then we don't really understand what we're fighting about or fighting for. But when I fight for the Second Amendment, I'm fighting for my right to self-defense. And what Alito said is, the most efficient tool for self-defense is a handgun. Dude's smart. You ought to read his opinion. I think pretty soon you're going to get to read an opinion by a guy named Clarence Thomas, where they're going to say assault weapons bans are a no-no. I really do. These guys are on a roll. It's pretty awesome. But the suits are going to have to be filed. The right suits are going to have to be appealed. All of this takes state and regional groups teaming with national groups. All of that takes money, and they get money from membership. So you see what I'm saying? It all comes back to you guys got to get in the game. I got to be in the game. We're all in this together. And our founders gave us those 4 words. Shall not be infringed. So don't get tired. Don't take a break. If you get a little win, you can't go, wow, that was a great win. Now we can relax. No. If you get a win, charge harder. You got them on their heels. Flip them over. Run them over. All right? We get rid of all this stupid gun control. We can do it if we fight together. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.